I'm Roy Potter, a former U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel. Welcome to the Potter Expositor. Good morning, everyone. Today is the 6th of September, 2018. I'm Roy Potter. Welcome to the Potter Expositor. We are having serious connection problems this morning. I don't even know if you'll be able to hear the audio. I can't get this thing to stay strong at all. I've got all the bars up showing me that everything's okay, but the stream isn't making it through. So I'm going to just apologize for that up front. I was thinking about hot wiring this thing in, but I don't think the problem is in my Wi-Fi today. I think it's actually down the line somewhere. So this may be really jumpy. Hopefully the sound will continue. I don't know. Let's check what it looks like on YouTube here real quick. Yeah, it's stopping quite a bit. Now I don't have any way of fixing that here, so we'll just proceed, and I'll apologize for the way it looks, but like I say, apparently it's not the Wi-Fi, it's apparently something with the service, which isn't entirely, uncommon, as you all know. So let's just go ahead and go. I probably won't make this a long one because this is out of control. I have no idea what's going on here. Okay, so I call this one the Coup admits it exists. We've all known it, but of course they've been denying it. With all of the evidence surrounding everything that's going on, it's very obvious that it's happening. And finally, the New York Times article comes out, and I want to read a couple things to you here. I know a lot of people don't particularly like Mike Cernovich. I do. For a lot of reasons. I follow a lot of folks. Let me read, though, what Matt Couch said first, because I think this is very true. Matt Couch is an investigator. He and his wife have an organization most of you probably know, and he's been looking into the Seth Rich situation heavily. But I want to read what he said on a Twitter just a few minutes ago, about 20 minutes ago. Quote, still waiting on GOP senators and congressmen to back up their president this morning. Bueller. It's pathetic what we are witnessing by the GOP. This is why the midterms are in jeopardy. The Democrats are corrupt. This is really important because I'm going to talk about this. The Democrats are corrupt as hell, but they're unified, folks. Remember what I've said in the past about the children of light and the children of darkness? That the children of darkness are wiser than the children of light? That in the conservative movement, we don't have the impetus to get together and to be united? We're so independent, it's our greatest weakness. Let me read another thing that Matt Couch said here. Quote, I'm tired of so-called conservatives not having the testicular fortitude to back their president. Retweet if you agree with me, and of course I agree with him 100%. Okay, getting to Mike Cernovich on this thing with the New York Times. Why is this so important? Why is this so critical? Even to the point where President Trump is saying, is this treason? He tweeted out yesterday with just the words in caps, treason and a question mark. Yes, it is. I'll just say it up front. Yes, it is. And it's not just by the people in his organization, his administration, and elsewhere. It's rampant throughout our country now. But it's funny because of the way that they're turning it on us. And I'm going to talk about this thing here in a few minutes where the leftist Marxists are, even those who are in Mueller's organization, are calling now for the arrests of Trump supporters, even their deaths, that if you support Trump, that you deserve arrest and even imprisonment and execution and these other things. Now, I'm not trying to say this to be sensational. What I am concerned about is the fact that things have deteriorated to such an extent, as I've said probably now for at least 2 years, that there is a chasm between good and evil. There is a a gulf that we cannot traverse to meet each other in this country anymore. The left and I hate to call it the left and the right, but I'll just call it this, because I don't know if there's any other way to do it. The evil really is evil, folks. In our country, we've taken the bait with these politically correct people. And I could talk about a lot of things. Some people that knew what I was going to do this morning begged me not to say certain things because they don't want me to get taken off YouTube, like I care, right? Because I'd rather get it out. But I'm going to honor what they asked me to do this morning, and I'll just say this. We do not call evil for what it is because we're afraid to. All right? There is evil. Mueller is evil. Absolutely 100%. Rosenstein, Sessions, Soros, the Rothschilds. We can go on and on where this is all coming from. They're out to destroy mankind, and mankind is too damn stupid to wake up to it. At least in the Western world. I got off track. Let me read the New York Times situation that Cernovich talks about. This is a quote from Mike Cernovich, and he's absolutely right. Quote, "Can we talk about how the media went from dismissing the deep state as a conspiracy theory to publishing a column from a senior official who admits to sabotaging Trump? I feel like we sort of have to have that conversation now." They've been denying that the deep state coup, first of all, they deny the deep state exists. And then they deny that the deep state coup against Trump and the Second American Revolution, in other words, the restoration of the constitutional republic, our American way of life, we're trying to fix that, and they've denied it. And now this is an admission. So let me read that again from Cernovich. "Can we talk about how the media went from dismissing the deep state as a conspiracy theory to publishing a column from a senior official who admits to sabotaging Trump? I feel like we sort of have to have that conversation now." I agree. Ladies and gentlemen, this is out of control. Totally out of control. And looks like I'm still having connection problems. But I'll quickly get through this. What I really plan on doing today was making up to you from what happened on Tuesday and having a lot of chat discussion today. But the way this connection is looking, I don't know if we'll be able to accomplish that or not. This is looking pretty bad. But we'll just go on here. So as I mentioned a few minutes ago, there are more and more calls for Trump supporters to be harangued, indicted, arrested, imprisoned, even executed. There's more of that coming. I'm telling you, there is this evil in this country and in the world. This evil is manifesting itself now, and we have to be willing to call it what it is. The reason why I have to back Trump, and of course, I have some difficulties with some of his ideas. Of course, I mean, whoever agrees wholeheartedly with somebody, all I ask is that he stick with the Constitution, okay? And there's some problems there. I realize that, but anybody who says that he's representing the deep state and has this ulterior motive to destroy the United States and the Constitution, is working with the evil side, the Luciferians, it's all a big drama. You're as bad on your side, okay, as the people that I call threat-of-tears are on the other. Threat-of-tears being those who say that, all this problem with Sessions that Trump has is big theater, is drama to fool everybody. Well, as I said before, who is he fooling? He's not fooling the deep state. Oh, he's fooling the American people so that they'll understand what he does when he goes after these people? No, that's not it either, because most of them are too asleep to really realize the difference. You're forgetting about the bell curve. The people in the middle really don't give a damn, okay? So you're wrong about that. And the other side of it is true too. So we have this coup going on, and it's really evil. It really is evil. And Trump is not putting on theater. So seeing that they're attacking him the way they are, it's obvious that they know he is their enemy. And we, who are supporting him in like kind, are also the enemy. And we have to start understanding that. Robert Mueller's calling in Jerome Corsi. I had a little text the other day with, actually it was yesterday, with Isaac Green of Anti-School, and I don't want to make any assumptions here. I think this is primarily because Corsi has, it says that Mueller wants to see his reporter's notes. Well, there's another thing to this, and I don't know how accurate this is, but I have a suspicion that Mueller knows about the Q thing, and he's pulling Corsi in because of that. They want to rope Trump into this Q thing. That's what I think is happening here. And people will say, oh, no, you're not going to go there again. Oh, it's a lot worse, folks. You have no idea. You have no idea. But that's certainly going to be in the mix there somewhere. Because remember what Q says. Oh, we have an insider in the White House who's close to Trump who is leaking intelligence information. Oh, really? And they want to tie that to Trump? Yeah, probably. Because the deep state, I saw this the other day and I thought it was pretty good. You know, the deep state is the steady state. That's how they look at themselves. The electorate, they have no respect for. They have no respect for the Constitution. All they care about is their institutions. It's like this whole situation with the FBI director, Even Ray, Mueller, Comey. They're more concerned about the institution of the FBI than they are about the constitutional republic. It's really out of control. And this is evil. And there's more evil. And I might as well say this much of it. We have been poisoned, our children, including ourselves, back many years ago. We've all been poisoned. The United States has never been the perfect society. Look what we've done. But the principles were right. And you got to understand that what was attacked here were the principles, are the principles. Yes, men are going to make mistakes. But the principles themselves are being attacked. Do you understand? So where do we stand? Do we stand for the right? Or do we go over to the evil side because we're too chicken to call it out for what it is? And that's what's happening in the White House. I talked to, as a matter of fact, it was this morning, I had my Republican contact get a hold of me this morning, and he said there was let me see what he said here. I don't remember the guy's name, so let me pull it up and take a look here. Oh, yeah, that's a good one, too. Wait till you see what John Podesta said on Twitter. I'm going to pull that up again in a couple of minutes, but let me grab this. Okay, so he writes to me this morning and he says this. Oops, wrong one. He says, I woke up an hour early and Brian Kilmeade, I'm not even sure who that is, on Fox and Friends totally nailed it when he said that President Trump needs at least one family member involved in meetings to have his back and observe how others are behaving in these meetings. I mentioned that to you earlier, and I cannot agree more. That's why Trump doesn't have anybody he can trust in his administration. They've all been bought off by the evil side. It's obvious, and it's been that way from the start. So what do? Well, Joe DeGeneva and Greg Jarrett were again on Hannity last night, and this Republican insider even brought that up, and he said this. I watched Joe DeGeneva and Greg Jarrett on Hannity. Holy cow, Roy, those two men are on fire. I wish that DeGeneva was Attorney General. Amen. And then he used an expletive I won't repeat here. He and Greg Jarrett are ass kickers. Love them. Very, very true. This is no longer a war. This is no longer a political argument of ideology, of whether we should have a socialist state or a capitalist state, or whether we should have a constitutional republic or a democratic government, which is not what we want. It's not. Democracy is the worst. Democracy is almost anarchy if you really understand what it is. We have to call it what it is. This is now turning into a very, and I've warned about it coming for a long time. This is a very serious situation. They cannot allow Trump to succeed. They have to go after the midterms. They have to do anything they can to get the people in the middle of the bell curve, to be willing to stand up against, but with the false accusations. Use false accusations. One of the 10 Commandments is what? Thou shalt not bear false testimony. false witness, that's a punishable offense. And yet it's done rampantly today, and we're seeing it more and more and more. And Mueller's not backing down. And I'll tell you what, Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton and Chris Farrell, they're absolutely right. That thing needs to be shut down. Damn the political consequences, because we're going down that road anyway. All we're doing by not acting is kicking the can down the road, and you've heard me talk about that before, that Trump needs to do something. I think he's ready to. Of course, I've said that before, and then it turned out he didn't, whether because the other side backed off a little bit or whatever. But the point is, they're not going to go away. Do you see that they want you to accept their political ideology, and if you don't, the punishment is they put you in prison, they kill you, they do whatever, right? Now, if we don't do that. We say you can have your political ideology, but your fist ends at our nose. And we had a duly elected president put into office, and Hillary Clinton said anybody who challenges an election is wrong, basically, right? Well, what's happened? It's un-American to challenge an election. Well, what have they done? Well, of course, everything they say is exactly opposite to what they mean. I shouldn't keep looking at that. There's some more things. John Podesta, I couldn't believe it. Why not? I'll just throw that in there because we're talking about the New York Times article, and that they've admitted that the coup exists, that the deep state coup exists. Let me read you this thing from John Podesta. And everybody's been saying, oh, John Podesta, he's in prison. He's at Gitmo. Not everybody's saying that. You know who I'm talking about. No, they're not. You know, people in the Q movement who came in after January aren't familiar with the history. They don't know what happened early on, and they buy into all this crap that's coming out right now, and there's more and more and more of it. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I don't like talking about Q, but I have to. John Podesta tweeted out, let's see when he did this. Oh, I don't have the date, but I think it was this morning or late last night. Okay, if you want to see it, here it is. Let's see if you can see that. I'm going to come over here and just make sure that it's going there. Well, it got a little bit of a... You see that? It's John Podesta. You see that? Let's see what it says. This is amazing. This is John Podesta saying this. Real witch hunt begins. Quote, the sleeper cells have awoken, unquote. Trump and aides shaken by, quote, resistance, unquote, op-ed. Do you realize what he's doing here? He's giving credence to it. And he's brave enough to do it because he, like I said, Admiral Craven is thinking that this thing is going to go that way. And now Podesta is getting a little more brave too. Now you can look at this statement on Twitter in a couple of different ways. But when you add in what's happening with Mueller, Admiral Craven, Jeff Sessions refusing to take any action, Jeff Sessions is dirty as hell. Or he's scared as hell, one of the two. He's not out there doing anything behind the scenes. And neither is John Huber. Matter of fact, there was another tweet about that whole thing with Huber. I think it was Joe DeGeneva. I think that Joe DeGeneva on Hannity said Sessions and Huber aren't doing anything. They're doing nothing but helping to cover this thing up. Everybody's thinking something's happening behind. And then you have these Q people who say, oh, no, we've got the inside track because we have somebody in the White House who really knows what's going on. Do you really honestly think that Joe DeGeneva, who's been in D.C. for probably 35 years, Greg Jarrett, Chris Farrell, Tom Fitton, et cetera, you think that you know more than those guys do? Boy, I'll tell you what, you guys have illusions of grandeur. Illusions of grandeur. Delusions of grandeur. A couple good things came out. Trump tweeted out, I'm draining the swamp and the swamp is trying to fight back. Don't worry, we will win. Well, I sure hope so. I sure hope so. I could say some other things here about this whole thing. We're very concerned. There are a number of us that are very concerned about the president's safety because this thing is getting out of control. There was a tweet the other day that goes along with what my Republican insider and I talk about all the time. Somebody tweeted out, "My biggest fear is that the president isn't being protected enough. With all the deep state trying to save their own asses, you never know who has been bought or blackmailed in the administration," and that's obviously true. It's rampant right now. Mueller, in particular, is being allowed so much leeway that he can threaten people on things that have nothing to do with Russian collusion, because all they want to do is take Trump down and take down the constitutional republic, and that's what they're about. The answer to that from this guy was, "You are absolutely correct. The president absolutely does not have enough protection around him. It's frightening." And I agree 100%. Okay, well, like I said, I'm having some problems with some connections here, so I'll just move ahead on a couple of other things, and then I'll get to chat. There's a lot of infighting in the conservative movement, and people point at me talking about Q and say, "Well, Roy, you're doing that too. You're talking." Look, by and large, Q is a faceless fairy tale. You can't look at Q in the face. Well, there are a lot of people that claim to know what all that's about, but you can't sit down there with Q and go, "Well, he can't reveal himself. You know, he's an inside intelligence operative." All you got to do is listen to Trump. Trump is all you need to listen to. And then people in the know who really have been there for years in D.C. and know what's going on, like I just said a few minutes ago, Geneva, Greg Jarrett, people like that. I'm going to say this, and it's probably going to... The entire thing that Jack Posobiec has done on Q is right on the money. As I said, I've been saying since January, Monograph started this as well as Uni from Unirock TV. I've told you all about that. Monograph said early on this goes back to Clinton operatives. It didn't start out that way, but it was taken over by that group. Absolutely. And people are making fun of Jack Posobiec because, this microchip says, "Well, I'm not tweeting anymore." So they're saying, "Well, Jack, here is so funny because Q, he says he couldn't be Q because he's not tweeting anymore." You missed the point. It's been taken over by the CIA, by Media Matters, and by Clinton associates. Whether the people that know it or not. But there's some other ties. And I just want to say this right now. And this is an address to Jordan Sather. Jordan, you and I have had some conversations. You know where I'm going with this. Okay? Your defense of the Q thing yesterday and attack on Jack Posobiec was really pretty pathetic. Okay? Maybe it was the day before, but that was pretty pathetic. And I'm going to tell you something, okay? You're in the realm, Jordan, of not opinion anymore. You're going from the point of opinion to the point of culpable intent. Do you understand? Culpable intent. Just be aware of that. And I've told you where this is coming from. I told you all this was going to come out. And what you do is you attack people and you don't address the issues or the evidence. You just make grandiose statements and look like you know what you're talking about. I think you need to get back to your Gaia stuff. Okay, talk about your secret space program and stuff like that, because the further this thing goes down the road and you won't admit to what's going on, it's going to sink you, buddy. And I'm sad for you. I gave you a lot of credit early on because I was hoping that you would use some responsibility, but now it's become another issue. And I'm going to say it again. You're going from the realm of opinion to the realm of culpable intent. I'll let you read between the lines what that means. Okay. Like I said, there's a lot of infighting in the movement, and it's really hurting us. Just like Matt Couch said, the other side is evil, but they're united. They're corrupt, but they're united because they operate on two things. Not the truth, not honesty, not integrity. They operate on fear and reward. Pavlovian fear and reward. That's what they operate under. The entire Luciferian system operates under that. Our side works on independence, trying to do the right thing. Which wolf do you feed, the bad wolf or the good wolf? We try to feed the good wolf. The problem is that we see boogeymen on our own side all the time. And this was the design of Q, partially to cause that division. I mean, there are others there. There are arguments going on between, and I'm going to bring up some of this in a live stream probably in the next few days, depending upon what somebody gives me. But the attacks that are being made on Unirock over this whole pedophile thing, which again is being cultivated by the Q and by Media Matters and these people to divide people and to make false accusations. And I told you about it the other day, Steve Kelly. This was about a week ago when I told you he's supposed to be this administrator in the Q movement, and he said, "This is what we're going to do. If you're pro-Q, you're anti-pedo, but if you're anti-Q, you're pro-pedo." And ladies and gentlemen, they are going down that road. A blanket accusation like that. So I suppose Greg Jarrett and Joe DeGeneva are pro-pedo because they have nothing to do with Q. A year ago, in October, right when this whole thing started, there were people that were making plans with each other. And Unirock uncovered a lot of that. So did Jack Posobiec. Jack Posobiec didn't get, or at least at this point, he hasn't even talked about some of these others. I have, because I was there. I saw it happen. There were two posts that I want to talk about right now. Okay? Monograph said back in December or early January that his study of the technical data showed him that it was highly likely that Clinton operatives, he said Clinton herself, but he's just saying it goes back to Clinton, that Clinton is behind this entire Q thing. Maybe not from the start, I think we all agree on that, but that it was taken over sometime around. Well, Q said like a week in that he had given us everything he needed and was going away. Actually, it was about 2 weeks in, right around Thanksgiving. And then all of a sudden was picked up again on another Chan, right, on the CBTS. But at any rate, the point here is that something happened in the last little while that needs to be pointed out, and I think some people have. And some people will say, well, that first one wasn't Q. Well, Q wasn't using a trip code at first. Okay, that was manufactured later. Okay, so regardless of who Q is, I'm going to show you a diametrically opposed position. Okay, that's a problem. Okay, it's a mathematical. On November 4th, 2017, Q said Q equals Alice. It's about the Alice in Wonderland deal. Okay? Q equals Alice. On August 15th, 2018, there was, some people say, well, that wasn't really Q. No. It was signed Q at the bottom and they left it there. This is what it says. HRC equals Alice. Now, I haven't looked at Q. I haven't paid any attention to it, frankly, at least not the posts, because I saw it all happen up through January and a little bit into February. And I knew where it was going, and I don't need to discuss it, go down and read and think that it has some or the gods associated with Q. Are you kidding me? These two things are diametrically opposed. And the mathematical formula reads like this. If Q equals Alice on November 4th, 2017, and on August 15th, 2018, Alice equals HRC, what does that mean? Any of you out there with algebra? It means that Q equals Hillary Rodham Clinton under Q's own posts. And there'll be fights about this because of the trip codes and all that, but it was there. And everything that's happened since then shows that it's true. So As I've said before, why do I bring this up? Because as I've said before, the children of darkness are wiser than the children of light. The children of darkness use fear and reward and planning down the road, right, to keep everything in place and to attack the opposition. The children of light, they just want to sit on the beach and enjoy life. They don't make these bad plans down the road. They don't use fear and intimidation and the reward of money in a bad way to keep people, in line. I mean, in a way they do, but I think you see the difference. Coup has exacerbated this weakness in the conservative movement, in the constitutional republic restoration. That's what's happening. And it's even gotten down to the point, as I said now, that people like Unirock are being attacked as being pro-pedophile because he won't go along with the baloney that these people are using. They're throwing out accusations that they have no evidence or proof of. And they're hurting the real investigations that could be going on. It's political waterboarding, as I've called it before. It's throwing so much into the fire that the fire actually gets smothered. You have a flame going on, you're doing some good stuff, and somebody says, well, let's put some real fuel on the fire, and they put so much on it. Have you ever been out camping and done this? And you put so much fuel on the fire that it snuffs it out? Oh, it's fuel all right, but the fire can't handle it. That's what's happening here. It's political waterboarding. Okay, just wanted to bring those things up. Like I said, I wanted to go to the chat. Let's do that. And I'm really sorry for the connection. It's probably cutting in and out really bad. So let's just see what you guys are talking about here. Okay, Denise James says exactly what I was thinking, Roy. They are demonic, maniacal. Yeah, and I'll try to read this thing. It really jumps around, boy. I'll tell you what. My connection might not be good, but the chat still speeds along. Let me go back to the very beginning here. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Yeah, I kind of didn't do that, didn't I? Because I was too concerned about the situation with the connection. So I'll just say good morning to you all that said good morning to me. Thank you. You can see I'm pretty uptight this morning, mainly because of this coup. The fact that the New York Times has admitted it. Essentially, the deep state coup is existing. This is who have been denying it. They're now saying that it exists. Mueller's going off the tracks. They're going after anybody who supports Trump in any way, and they'll work down the line. It's not going to be pretty. And like I said, this somehow or another, some type of action has to be taken against this coup. Real action here pretty soon. I don't know if Trump can wait until the midterms. No name was executed. No, he wasn't. See, that's what I mean. Why? Because Q said so? Or the Q followers said so? If that were true, Meghan McCain would be screaming from the housetops. So would Hillary Clinton. So would Podesta. So would all the Democrats in Congress. Are you kidding me? Oh, no, they're going to be quiet because they're afraid. No. McCain was not executed. No. That's the type of thing that's ridiculous. And we see all this crap coming out. They would be screaming. Look what Mueller's doing. He almost has a free hand. Do you think if they executed McCain, that wouldn't be an issue? No. Come on. Come on, guys. Ladies, come on. Okay. Thank you for letting me know the sound's okay. Like I said, the video may not be. Yeah, somebody says a lot of people are having transmission problems that are on YouTube. Yeah, I'm sure that's true. Yeah, and I'm sorry about the buffering and all that. Like I said, I'm watching my gauges here, and I'm in the red most of the time, not the green. So there's something along the service that's all messed up. No name was executed for his acts of treason. Brian Rushing, no. No. That's not what happened. I'm just looking through the chat here to see if you guys have... Why are they still there, Roy? Trump can purge them, but he isn't. I understand what you're saying, Rose of Sharon Homestead. Yeah. Well, look at the situation that's now happened where they're saying that they've got these insiders who are trying to take Trump down from inside his cabinet in his White House. Yeah, that's really true. He the evil has really gotten a foothold. Okay, they've really gotten a foothold, and now what's the old saying in the Old Testament? They will call evil good and good evil. We're totally upside down. We're totally upside down. They have ruined the moral fabric of not just the nation but individuals with what's been going on in the last 30 to 50 years. They've ruined the moral fabric. They've thrown in false morals to confuse people. I could give a whole dissertation on that, but I'm afraid it will go over most everybody's head at this point. The point is that it's Trump needs to take action, and I've been saying that for a long time. I would like him to raid the FBI and the DOJ and a lot of other bureaucracies because now the treason has been stated out front. The coup has been stated out front by the deep state's paper of record. It's no longer, a hush-hush thing that it's just about Russian collusion. It never was anyway. Okay? I wish he could, but maybe he just doesn't have the support there. I don't know. U.S. Marshal Service, DHS. DHS is subject, I'm not sure that's a good thing. But who's he going to get to do it? I've asked him to go ahead and activate Article 2, Section 2. And there are a lot. You remember he was in, I think he was in New Hampshire. He was somewhere in one of his places, and the motorcycle guys came, and the Secret Service let them in, and they were all around. I guess they had been vetted prior to all this, and they were all around Trump. Trump needs to activate Article 2, Section 2 and bring the vets in who want to support him. There will be a lot of, they'll have to be careful because there are a lot of vets that have been poisoned by leftist Marxists. We saw the lieutenant at the United States Military Academy. Okay, a lot of that exists. I know for a fact. I was at the War College. I've seen this stuff. I've seen how these people talk and act. But there are good vets out there, and we would come at a moment's notice about this thing about Trump being concerned about his safety. We would be there in a moment's notice. So he has to do something. His family's in danger. He's in danger. Trump supporters are in danger. And the middle of the bell curve has no idea of what's going on, or they don't care. No, we can't organize under the GOP. Well, I'm afraid that's not going to work. MNN, MAGA News Network, seems to think that that's still the way to go. But I don't think so. I think there has to be a new, not just a new party, but a new organization altogether. And I'm not sure where to go with that at this point. I really don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know. Again, no, McCain was not executed. No, the Dems and everybody would be all over that. Don't you understand? That's another hype from Q and the Q people. It turned from a way to research and to gather information into a cult. And I feel bad for the people that are stuck in it. And, people like Ginger McQueen says, well, she's not going to treat people mean who are following Q. And, of course, Unirock says that and all that. And I agree, no sense in treating them mean. But they are a danger because of their ignorance. Provable. Look at the stuff that Jack Posobiec is coming out with, which a lot of it came from Unirock. Okay, and the other people that have investigated this. No, McCain was not executed. I mean, think about that. Think about how absurd that is. If they're yelling about Trump changing, the NAFTA deals and TPP and making these new trade deals with these countries, if they're complaining about that in the news, what do you think they'd do if McCain had been executed, found guilty in a tribunal and executed? Are you kidding me? Come on, guys. YouTube story to Chinada. Oh, Chinada, you. I'm going to block you. I know who you are, and you are not a good person. So you're gone. Bye. Okay. There are people here that are really bad folks, and that's one of them. If any of you saw his post, I'm not going to put up with people like that anymore. He said there was a thing he put out a while back that because I was supporting a monograph that anyway get a grip. You really think I said this before. Monograph did some stuff on Umbrella Man and some other things. Maybe it's not your cup of tea, but you're going to accuse him of really bad stuff because of those things. And yet, how come you're not talking about Stanley Kubrick with Eyes Wide Shut, or Clockwork Orange, or things like that? These are artists that are making statements politically by showing stuff, and this guy wants to say that we're all pedophiles. Yeah, well. No, I don't support Q, and no, I'm not a pedophile. I ought to sue all these people that say that, because think about it, folks. I've been out in the open for how long? I've been in the mainstream media. I've been a public figure since basically 1978 when I stood up against an Army. He was on the Brigadier General's list. I told you about that, and had to testify against him, and it went into all the papers and everything. So it's been since 1978. Okay. I could sue people, and I don't care if they depose me, because there's nothing they're going to find out that isn't already public. So there's no thing I'm afraid of there. It's just the time and the element that it takes. But I could sue a lot of these people, and that guy's one of them. Okay. Yeah, Cosmo Sherry. Yeah, Q has been outed by Jack Posobiec. It's going to get it, and there's still a lot more to come out. And most people still don't understand the nuances of this and the actual connections. And a lot of people, it'll be cognitive dissonance, normalcy bias, that kind of thing. Because it's in a cult, you can't convince people. It's like me talking to Mormons and trying to tell them that there's a problem in their church. They don't want to hear it because it troubles them. Some people you just won't reach. You just won't reach. Michael Cox, Jack don't have shit. No, see, you're not looking at the evidence, buddy. You're not looking at the evidence. You're just going down the road with what you're hearing. Go look at the evidence. Start with the Unirock stuff that I posted out a long time ago, because a lot of what Jack's bringing out, Unirock did, okay? It's technical data that shows the connections. Jack's getting into the social connections about how it started. I think he's going to get into the technical data too. No, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. But I don't expect the cultists to look at it objectively. They never do. They didn't at the time of Jesus. They didn't at the time of Hypatia. They didn't at the time of the Puritans. They didn't at the time of the Salem witch trials. The cultists never, ever look at the evidence. They only want to go down the road that protects their normalcy bias and their yeah. Okay, let's see what else they are. Tree climbing, Tracy Binns, Tuesday vid. I don't even follow Tracy. Tracy's another. She and Jordan Sather, we were kind of together there at first, and then as soon as I went out against the Q thing, it was war. Okay? And there's a lot more involved than that. I know a lot about this thing with Q. Tracy Beans and Jordan Sather were communicating before Q even hit the Chans. I was there, ladies and gentlemen. I saw it. Tracy and Jordan need to come out and come clean. I called out, Paul Ferber, Baruch the Scribe. I called him out. These people are peddling because a lot of things are going on. I feel really bad for them, but they need to come clean. I saw Paul trying to defend against Jack Posobiec the other day too, with his post that these predictions that happen and all that. Paul, like I told you before, all of that is explainable. But I guess you're writing a book. I got to take a break for a minute. Let's see, how long have we been going? 47 minutes. I got to take a break for a minute. So if you'll pardon me, I'm going to play. Some people won't like this, but it's my break song. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, we're back. I made that just for that kind of a situation. Let me show you something here. I was watching MAGA News Network with Adam Gingrich, and there's this argument between Adam Gingrich and 0 Hour One. This goes back, I guess, quite some time ago. And those are the kind of infighting things that I find just tragic. I see good on both sides, and I see some error on both sides. But at any rate. So I see 0 Hour One, he's constantly drinking. You can hear him, he's drinking, I'm not sure what it is. It's probably a soda drink of some sort. I'm not sure what it is. You notice I'm not drinking coffee this morning. Well, I did earlier, but right now it's something else. And no, it's not vodka. And any. Well, let me just show you. So Adam Gingrich, he showed one day what he was drinking, and it wasn't really he wasn't really pushing it as a commercial or as an advertisement or whatever, but he was just showing you what he's doing. So let me show you. He gave you this idea. Actually, one of my daughters uses this. They're on a special diet, so they use this seltzer water. And it's Simple Truth Organic. And this one's berry flavored, mixed berry. And so that's actually what I'm drinking. But I did have coffee earlier. No, there's no vodka in this. It's just that mixed berry seltzer water. But I guess the change-up kind of changed my metabolism a little bit. So pardon me for taking that quick break. Let's get back to the chat here. Again, pardon me for doing that. Yeah, Roy's gears are grinding, Catherine Edwards. Well, yeah, that's true. I can't deny that. Yeah, Podesta's happy tweeting away. Yeah, he's not in prison. See, what's one of the first things that the Q said, and then Paul Ferber tried to back it up and said, well, no, Q didn't say that was somebody else. No, it was Q before he had a trip code. And then he said, but then again, they did say that they were being extradited and indicted. You really? Clinton looks worried lately because she knows that if Trump succeeds, she's in trouble. But they're still free as birds. Free as birds. The coup attempt, God willing they fail. Devin Tarrington. I agree, Darren. However, the United States is very evil. I've tweeted out a lot of things about the Afghan war. James Corbett did an excellent review of how we got into the Afghan war, which is our longest war in history now, and why we got there and how, and the corruption and the lies, and it's not just that. We're warring around the world. We've got problems with protecting pedophiles, the immorality. The basic immorality in America is detestable. And like in the Old Testament, God uses enemies, bad people, to come in and destroy his people when they deny his righteousness. Let's put it that way, and that we should emulate that righteousness. Now, I don't mean to make this a religious argument, but it's just cause and effect. If you don't believe the religious aspect of it, it's cause and effect. Why? The Romans are a good example. When they became decadent and didn't want to do the things they were supposed to do, what did they do? They let down their guard on their borders, and the Visigoths came in and destroyed them. It's just cause and effect. You can say it's God, you can say it's, cause of whatever, but the fact is it exists, and we're seeing that here. And Trump and some of the rest of us, I do believe Trump is trying to turn this around. Because I think he sees the destruction that's coming, but he's still allowing the military-industrial complex to have too much of a say. He is, and I've talked about that. But I also realize he's in a real stickler of a situation. He has people literally trying to kill him and his family, and then all of us that have supported him, and they've said so. So, yeah, the coup attempt. It is an attempt, but I appreciate you bringing it up, Devin. But I'm not so sure God's going to be real patient with us. If you believe in God and you believe in that type of a thing, think about it. Think about what's on our communication systems now, on our televisions, how they're ripping apart the man-woman relationship. Oh, I saw a thing this morning about this. The female. The future is the female. There we go again. Don't you see? It's just like in the Garden of Eden, right? The first thing that Lucifer does is divide the man from the woman, trying to get the woman away. It's all there, but oh no. They want to destroy the species. They want to destroy mankind. And unfortunately, too many people are too selfish and stupid not to realize what's going on. Sometimes, Roy the tech genius, lots of laugh. Catherine Edwards. Catherine, I've never claimed to be a tech genius. One of the things the Army taught me is that you'd surround yourself with people that help you do your job. Because we all don't know anything. I'm a baby boomer. I do not. There are a lot of things about computer systems and things like that I know nothing about. But I was smart enough to surround myself with people who do know it. Okay? So all I can do is summarize their findings, Catherine. All right? Unirock is a tech-savvy guy. Monograph is probably one of the original anonymous people. He wouldn't like me to talk about that, but he knows his stuff. He knows how to crack a lot of stuff. He knows how to get into the codes. And there are other people I can mention too. I've surrounded myself with people that know it. And that's what the commanders in the Army do. They don't know everything. You know, one of the things that makes an officer is if they're not stupid enough to put aside their enlisted people and think that they're God over their enlisted people. Because I'll tell you who runs the Army. It's the enlisted people. It's the lower rank folks. They're the people that do it. And a good officer will understand that he's a resourcer and he surrounds himself with people that can give him the right information so he can make the right decisions. Do I know how to write code in a computer code, computer language? No. But I surround myself with people who do. So I can tell you what their findings are. And I can double check it, right? They tell me something and I can see if they're telling me whether it's right or not by the results. I'm being real patient with you, Catherine. Real patient with you. Linda Eckert, Trump should just do it. Fire the whole lot of the DOJ, FBI, and CIA. I agree. Liberals are going to complain and George Soros will continue to pay for the violence against conservatives. Yes, I agree. I agree. But of course, that's going to start one hell of a shooting war. But it might be that we can't avoid it at this point. As a matter of fact, a lot of this was, and I've talked about it before in the past, a lot of this was written by some esoteric secret society people back in the 1800s that I'm aware of. And they talked about this huge, not the Civil War that happened in 1861, not that one. They were talking about a very future time. And some people that have read the letter from Albert Pike. There's some questions as to whether that letter is legit or not, but it must be. I consider it to be historically because of the other facts that I know about what was going on in those days and the plans they were making for the dissolution of the United States, the race wars, dividing up the men and women, creating this trying to destroy mankind, the sexual relationship between men and women. All this was talked about back then, and I have a lot of the documents. So they're willing to destroy, as I said, they're willing to destroy everything rather than lose, and we're seeing that mount up now. And I don't. Trump got into this thing, as my Republican insider said. He came in as a maverick. When Reagan came in, he had people like George Shultz, people like that were old hats that knew how Washington worked. And even if Reagan had at least been a governor, right? So he knew a little bit. But when he got to D.C., he needed to surround himself with people who had been there. And they came and they willingly helped Reagan in what he did. Trump doesn't have that. Trump came in because he's always been a loner. His staff at the Trump Corporation is very small. Most of them, he couldn't even. He's gone to parties. He doesn't drink. He doesn't use drugs, things like that. But people, just, in other words, he's a loner, and he's always been known as that. And that was his greatest weakness coming to Washington D.C. was that he didn't have people there that were committed to helping him. He's got us out here, but it's not that the people haven't tried to tell him, but to go in and do what I'm asking, to use the Marshal Service and the DHS and supported, not in the action, but supported logistically by the Marine Corps. I don't think there's any other way around it, but I'm not kidding myself. I know where that'll go, but we might not have any other choice, and I keep talking about that now. Arrest Mueller gang now on RICO charges. Paige McHugh. Oh, boy, that's just the tip of the iceberg, Paige. You're absolutely right. There are treason sedition and treason and a lot of other things that are going on. But who is Trump going to get to support him? And I realize that's the weakness. Yeah, pride. Pride goes before the fall. Boy, isn't that true, Michael Cox. Liza Jean Williams. I see you quite a bit here and on UniRock and others, don't I? I think so. I always like your comments, so I appreciate them, and I like this. She says, but, trust Sessions. No, thank you. Okay, Rose of Sharon Homestead. She says, fire, fire. We've all been saying this for a long time. I personally question Trump if he doesn't fire them. His base will support him. I can't disagree with you, Rose, and haven't I been saying the same thing? That despite, I mean, we're at a point now, we've actually been there for a while, but we're at a point where if he doesn't act, it'll be just as bad or worse than if he does. Either way, it's going to be a mess. The end result, if he doesn't act, will be what we're seeing happen. The very thing he's afraid of if he does act will happen if he doesn't. And I agree. The question is where does it come from? So there are some people that are thinking that he's not going to wait till the midterms after all to fire Sessions and some other people. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the inside track on that. There are others like my Republican insider who say no, he won't because he's trying to play a game of poker here. But it's not one for money. It's one for people's lives and the future of the constitutional republic and the concept of the perfect law of liberty and all that. So I don't know. It's like I say all the time, all we can do is be prepared because we can only affect what happens with Trump so much. Look at Alex Jones. He went to testify, yesterday in D.C., and he was very brave. I mean, he got right in Marco Rubio's face. Did you see that? I didn't know Marco Rubio was so small. Alex isn't that tall. Alex is probably only like 5'10", maybe. Something like that. Marco Rubio was smaller than that. I was surprised. I didn't know he was a little rinky-dink shrimp, but he is. But the point is Alex Jones is there, and he has a lot of power as far as getting information out, right? Is Trump acting on it? I don't know. Some of Trump's best friends, Roger Stone. Look, Mueller's going after them. Manafort whether or not Manafort committed, crimes, financial crimes, those things were 10 years ago, and then the FBI, when they investigated first, decided not to go after him, but now because he was Trump's campaign manager for a short time, then Mueller changes his mind. Seems like to me that there are statutes that don't allow that. But of course, they just bend the rules for however they want. They've got lawyers, that will twist the law and make it so they do. Yeah, I don't know. I wish Trump would start firing him and cleaning house, but like I said, I expect that there will be a violent reaction, but maybe it needs to go there now. Maybe it does. And in the 1840s, 50s, 60s, 70s, these secret societies talked about it. They don't care. See, they just assume they don't care if society breaks down in the process of trying to fight them off, because that's their end game anyway. So they win either way, unless we can actually really take them out. This is bad. Anybody who knows about the war in heaven, whoa, this is it. Fact Finder says, if Sessions is as dirty as you say, wouldn't that make him easier to flip? I'm not sure what you're getting at. I think he's already shown whose side he's on. So I'm not sure what you're saying there. William Shuttler, Joe DeGenev is really trustworthy. Q on Sessions is intel disinfo. Roy, don't you get it? And it makes it very hard for the DOJ to go after QAnon. No, I wouldn't disagree with you there, William. Oh, I do get it. Look, HRC, Clinton is still free. What did I say here a few minutes ago when I showed that in November, Q says Q equals Alice, and then in August 15th he says HRC equals Alice, and you use algebra there, and that means Q is HRC, right? So no, I understand. Clinton has her hands in all of this, and she's well supported by leftist Marxists that they've had years to put in there, into the DOJ, the FBI. How long have I been talking about the corruption in the FBI? How long have I been doing that? On YouTube for a long time, and then I did the series on the FBI corruption, but I was talking about it way back in the 70s when I saw what happened with some false flag stuff that was happening back then. and framing people. Oh, yeah. No. Listen to Roy as hard as it is. Connie Miller Expositor. Oh, that's interesting. Connie Miller Expositor. I like that. Listen to Roy as hard as it is. Am I hard to listen to? I guess so. I guess so. Sometimes I don't quite say things as succinctly as I should. Scamplet, your subpoena is on its way. I'm not sure who Mr. Wallahi is talking to there. Yeah, I know you guys talk amongst each other and all that. Okay, Frank P. says, Trump said he will step in to end this BS if the DOJ and FBI don't start doing their job. I believe him. Oh, absolutely, Frank. Absolutely, 100%. Actually, just like Joe DeGeneva, Greg Jarrett, Tom Fitton, Chris Farrell, and a lot of other people have said, Janine Pirro. I mean, how many people who've actually been in the D.C. area know this stuff, right? Have been saying, yes, and even some congressional and senatorial people now are saying, yes, Trump needs to just go ahead and go after it. We understand that he's going to declassify some of the FISA stuff, right? Yes. Yeah, I think he will too. But he also will have to be ready to use force to protect the Constitution and his presidency. I am convinced that it's going to be that serious, which isn't going to go well for anybody. Yeah, Cosmo Sherry, yeah, they're really, I know. The entire thing is being monkeyed with, despite, I mean, you can pull Jack Dorsey, for instance, in, or Zuckerberg, or any of those people, and everybody knows that they're doing it, but nobody's really willing to hold their feet to the fire. Look at Marco Rubio yesterday when Alex was confronting him, and Marco Rubio's he's barely talking about how bad the Silicon Valley companies are and how bad the CIA is influencing. They're afraid to connect. Even Trump, when he points, and I've said this before, when he points at the MSM and say they're fake news, they're bad people, they're the enemy of the American people, he needs to make the next step, which is that they're controlled by the CIA and the deep state. And even he doesn't do that. Oh, this is interesting. Old school warrior. Q is watching you right now, Roy. Do I tell this story or not? I think I will. In some veiled terms. I had an individual a few years back who told me that there was a person in the spirit world who was not my friend that was making accusations against me and telling them that I had done all these bad things and that they questioned my motives and all that. In other words, that I was being watched by this deceased person. Okay? You know what I said? Well, what I said then is going to be a little different than what I'm going to say now because I don't use that word anymore. I said, you can go, that person who's making those statements, in other words, in this case, Q is watching you right now, go dip yourself, Q. And if anybody knows what that means, go back if you don't know what it means, go back a few videos where I talk about dip, D-P-P-P. Q, you can go dip yourself. All right? Q is a subversive thing that's going on. It's really torn up the Trump movement. It's really torn it up, and it's now being used against him. I'm afraid this thing with Jerome Corsi has some intentions by Mueller to tie in Q to Trump, and it's not going to look good. I think that's part of what's going on there. What? Swivel hips. Tracy Beans attacked Joe DeGeneva? See why? On Twitter, when all this was going on, I noticed that there was this rift that happened, and I mentioned to another person who was on the same chat that Tracy was upset at me because I was not supporting Q anymore, and that she hadn't had contact with me because of that. And she came back and quipped, "I haven't been on here for a long time. Nobody's been talking on here, In other words, Tracy Beans is incorrigible. I'm sorry, but she is. What does she know about the D.C. society? What does she know about the inner workings of D.C.? Nothing. She goes through an entire list. Yes, I support her at the beginning. I support anybody that's trying to make something of themselves. But if she attacked Joe DeGeneva, that's like a first grader telling a college professor that he does, a first grader who can't even do arithmetic yet is telling a university mathematics professor that he doesn't know anything about calculus. Well, that's why I don't have anything to do with Tracy Beans anymore. And people think that I love Tracy Beans. Any of these people who were trying to make something of themselves. I like the fact that she would cover things in depth the way she did, but she really didn't understand what she was doing. I'm sorry, she didn't. She would look through an entire document to find one sentence out of 3,000 pages that would support her position with the other thread of tears, as I call them, and then say, this is the real thing that's going on, and ignore everything else in the document. Well, I don't give Tracy Beans a whole lot of time anymore. If she attacked Joe DeGeneva, she's just proven who she is and what her motives are. I'm suspicious of anybody that was there right when Q started and before. And I know from firsthand experience, because I was there, that because I got Tracy Beans' contact information from Jordan Sather. They were in on this from the beginning. So what does that tell you? Tracy Beans attacked Joe DeGeneva? Kathy Drury, just listen to Trump. AIM, who a lot of people think that there's a tie-in with Thomas Schoenberger and the other Q things, along with Betsy and Douglas on AIM, American Intelligence Media. However, they try. A lot of people try to say that that's really what they're about. Well, regardless, one of the things that Douglas and Betsy did was they do decoding of Trump tweets. They say you don't need to listen to anybody else. Trump is the source of your news information. You don't even have to go to the New York Times. Just see, any media company. Just go see what Trump tweets, and you know what he's about. And I agree. So thank you for saying that, Kathy. Yes, just listen to Trump. I mean, what else are we going to do? And a lot of people, and I wanted to bring this up too. I had contact from a lady 2 days ago that I knew years ago. She's pretty conservative, I think. She finds fault with my interpretation of how the Bible is and some other things like that. But I understand a lot about the history. I know about Anunnaki. I know about the Sumerian culture and how it impacted history. And I don't have time to get into all that here. But, she's very critical of Trump, sort of like some other people I know, the tie him into the Rothschilds and, well, and of course I'm very upset about how he's handling things in Afghanistan and in Syria and stuff like that. But I got to tell everybody again, what else have we got to work with? And I got to tell her that too. I don't know if she's listening or not. She said that she started looking at some of my posts again. Okay, you don't like Trump. Well, who are you going to work with? Who have you got in the real world there that you can work with to try to turn this thing around? I'd say the same thing to Jake Morphonios, who's very critical of Trump. I mean, he's gone through and shown Trump's ties to all these New World Order people and all that, and I'm not saying he's incorrect. Moses, and I don't mean to say that Trump is Moses, okay? I'm just pointing the example here. Moses was freaking inside the Pharaoh's court in Egypt, right? He was that close. He was warring for the Pharaoh. He was doing all these things. And whether it's real or whether it's just type and shadow and metaphor, the example is the same. So who are you going to work with? Trump has the entire inner workings of the deep state countering him. No matter what he did on this one little specific thing or this other little specific thing or whatever, what's the overall picture, ladies and gentlemen? That Trump is fighting the evil in the deep state that's trying to destroy the constitutional republic, take over the country, which it already really has. He's trying to restore it back to what it was. Yeah, I have problems with a few things with him. But who else have we got in there? You? Me? You got to deal with the real worlds. Like I said in my book, The Crimson Thread, people try to say that Jesus rose above all that. No, he had to deal with the political situation of the time that he found himself in. And all of this other fairy tale, the guy who, Dr. Robert Eisenman, one of the most foremost experts on the Dead Sea Scrolls, who was very close with me at the time I was doing the research and all of that and wrote my book. He talks about Neoplatonic forays, and that almost everybody goes into and accentuates and propagates fiction and Neoplatonic forays, and they don't understand that the people have to deal with what they find in their time. Trump's where he is. He's the man in the arena. We just got to get to him and tell him that he can do what we need him to do. Stop finding fault with him in that regard. I know. He's a man. Okay, he's not perfect. But are you going to do it? Who are you going to put in there to do it? Do you know anybody else? Ron Paul? Yeah, but he's not there. And frankly, as much as I like Rand and Ron Paul, they just don't have the command presence that's needed for what we're going through right now. I'm sorry, they don't. I would love Rand Paul to have been president, and I think maybe he could have been a quiet leader, but that's not what we need right now. We need somebody with some gusto and some testosterone. It's just the way it is. That's what we need. Connie Miller Expositor, I'm seeing your comments. I think this is the second time I've talked about you, Connie. Yeah, I'm seeing you. And some Holy Heart Truth, Roy, you are causing some, and then I don't know, somewhat pain in the neck. I don't know what you're talking about. Eliza G. Williams, Sather defends his bank account. Period. Sather wants to take over the Dave Wilcock, Corey Good, Gaia deal. David Wilcock is kind of bowed out of that. He's still fulfilling some of his contract stuff, I think. But that's really what Sather's trying to do. And I understand the capitalistic functions of that. And if it wasn't for the fact that he is allowing a LARP and a an intelligence operation opposing, in fact, the truth. If he wasn't backing that up, I'd say he's fine. But even Tracy Beans backed out of the Q thing, because she could see where it was going. But 28-year-old Sather, anyway. Oh, really? Mr. Wallahy, Pamphlet, you call him Scamplet, is still carrying a gun around on his hip? Hell, they make more threats. He and his followers make more threats against people than he's ever received, I'm sure. What he's probably doing is he probably thinks he's going to fight. The FBI is letting him doing what he's doing now because the FBI is run by deep staters that are against Trump, and so Q fits into what the deep state wants right now. but he's probably afraid that maybe somebody on the good side is going to raid him, and I mean law enforcement types, not just normal people. Okay, well, we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes here. I like this one. Holy Heart Truth. Roy, we have to all come together. Q has some good info. True. But Satan gives you 99 truths to tell you the one lie. If Q had only been for info and have never said that he was an insider, close to the president, representing President Trump, and if they had not gone after people like me, saying that I was going to be outed as a deep stater, Mike Cernovich, before Mike Cernovich and Posobiec were ever involved, Q was and the Q followers were attacking them. I defended Tracy Beans and Jerome Corsi, and Ann Coulter's not involved with Q. But these Q followers and Q encouraged them to attack Jerome Corsi and Tracy Beans and Ann Coulter. They kind of lumped them together in me. This started with the Q people, this breaking up of the conservatives. Okay? Because supposedly it was about, you can't make money off of Q. Q doesn't ask for money. You don't understand the if somebody says that Q isn't asking for money, you've got to understand the structure that the Q movement has placed around itself and how they're making money, the inner workings of the organization. Q doesn't ask for it on the posts. But there's all kinds of things surrounding it that get people to go watch people that are promoting Q, and that's how the money gets dropped in. It's a very sophisticated. Actually, it's almost like a pyramid scheme. It's very similar to that. Jack Posobiec was an Obama lackey and still is. Jack Posobiec he was Democrat. I think he's talked about that. But he also was smart enough to see that the country was in trouble. Okay? Look at the fruits look at their fruits, and people can change. And if they see that they're in error, and they change, you've got to allow them for that. You can't keep pointing back. Even God says it, right? If you truly repent, I remember your sin no more. Why are you holding something against somebody when they've changed, when they've shown that they've changed? Why? Don't do that. That's satanic. That's satanic characteristics. When people have changed and they can prove it, my gosh. Well, okay, Posobiec was all over his place. Yeah. Fact Finder says, Posobiec was all over the place with his theory, though. His timelines were off. The names he lumped in were nuts, and his backer made even less sense. No. I'm a little surprised at Jack's briefing talents or lack thereof. Having been a naval intelligence officer, he doesn't really brief things very well. I have noticed that. I'm not holding that against him. I'll tell you, go again. He's basically referencing UniRock's breakdown of this, and some of Monographs and some of 0 Hour Ones, and even Ginger McQueen has been very good in breaking some of this stuff out. So the real point of it is that you've got to be able to get the information and then evaluate it from there. So yeah, Jack's been a little rough. Maybe he'll put it all together. He's broken it down into 3 or 4 phases, and I think we're in the second or beginning of the third phase right now. Wait till he's entirely done. But no, the information is good. Okay, and we've known about this for months and months and months. Okay, good people. Like somebody accused me of there that I'm not a tech genius, and I admit it. I'm not. I don't know how to fire, for instance, a 155 artillery piece. I know what it'll do. I know how to use it, but I don't know the actual technical abilities to fire the thing, but I had access to them, and I had people that would do that for me if I needed it. That's what we're about. Not everybody knows everything. You surround yourself with the people that know the technical data that you have to have in order to affect your mission. And so, there we go. I had a shoemaker. Yeah, Laura Loomer was kicked out of the hearing yesterday, and one of the congressmen started doing an auction deal. It was very immoral and wrong on his part to do that. Laura Loomer was making a point that Jack was lying. Jack of Twitter was lying, and she wanted to point that out, and they had her removed. It was out of, she did violate the order there. I realize that there is a parliamentarian order that they're supposed to follow, but nobody was going to call on her anyway, so she just decided to do it. But look at her demeanor and how she did it compared to the leftist Marxists that were there the other day, right? Look at the difference. Still out of parliamentarian order, parliamentary procedure, yeah, but she got it out, and I laud her for it. I think she was courageous to do it, and she's done that more than once. Okay, well, okay, I got to address this. Fact Finder. Q and the Anons were predicting everything that came out this week almost a year ago. Don't you understand? This stuff is well known. Q isn't the insider you think it is. We know that these things are going forward. Trump himself, look. What did Trump say during the campaign? I'm going to drain the swamp. This isn't something that Q came up with. He was saying that long before. All Q is doing is cashing out, literally, on what was already known. No. What did Trump say in his campaign? One of the slogans was drain the swamp. Do you remember that? And lock her up. Do you remember that? Q has been repeating things that he was talking about a year ago. Repeating them as if they're new. And they're not. Because new people are coming in and they don't know what he said a year ago. And he's just repeating the same thing that's fitting the narrative. I'm going to show you this, okay? It's not because they have inside information. They're repeating information and what's already known, and they just tweak it a little bit to make it sound new. That's all they do. Look at this. Can you see that? That's President Trump's tweet. I'm draining the swamp. He said he was going to in 2016 during the campaign. You can guess how he's going to do it and not be far off. That's not Q telling us how it's going to happen. It's Q just using the information that's out there that everybody already knows, and they talk like they're super secret squirrel insiders. Right? And the fact that they say that they have an insider close to Trump is going to be their undoing in the end. You can't say that. You can't pretend to be representing the President of the United States. It's a crime. And that's why I tell you, Jordan Sather's got to be real careful right now. He's gone past the point of opinion, and he's into culpable intent. There's some real problems here with all these people. Trump doesn't want to act against them because he knows he has true Trump supporters in the Q community. I've talked about that before. He's trying to be like Eisenhower, balancing the horrible British General Montgomery and what he was doing and not doing compared with Patton's super ability. In other words, Patton being MAGA, Montgomery being Q. Q's a Montgomery. MAGA is Patton. Last legitimate Coup post, well, as we know now, there was no legitimate Coup. Not in the sense that it was a military intelligence insider close to Trump. There never was such a person. It started out as a game, as a puzzle situation on the Chans, and they were using good information in that they were trying to follow the Trump deal. However, they were kicked off 4chan and taken over, and very likely starting around the Thanksgiving time, after they were taken over, and Unirock goes into all this. Once they were taken over and kicked out, and Microchip even talks about this, that Jack Posobiec has talked to, but we saw it happen. It was taken over by nefarious forces that do not have the Constitutional Republic, Trump, or the rest of us in good graces. They're really opposed to what we're doing. It's primarily a cash-making deal. It's very cultic. If you watch the people, I'm not going to name them here, but watch the people that talk about it. It's all about, God's telling us, God gave me a dream, God gave me a prophecy, they're doing all the things that cults do. All of it. So it's primarily a cash thing, but it's also for disinformation and to get people not to act. It's being taken care of. Trust Sessions, trust Wray, trust Rosenstein, trust the whole deep state that we've been fighting against, because it's all going to get fixed. You don't have to do anything. Sit back, eat your popcorn, and watch the show. Don't go vote. Don't go talk to your congressional representatives. Don't get involved in local politics. What are they telling you to do all those things? No, they are not. They just aren't. And they haven't been for a long time. Okay, I think we're done. It's been over an hour and a half. I just wanted to spend some time, taking your chat, because I did get pretty emotional about the thing with Major, the helicopter pilot who saved all those folks in the real hero, Hugh Thompson. And that got me pretty emotional. And I noticed that News with a Voice, I think is what it's called, came out with about a 15-minute history on Hugh Thompson. I was very happy about that. I thought that was great that they did that, and I retweeted it because it was such an excellent thing. So I know I've rambled a lot today, but I did want to get into the chat as much as possible. And I know I get very, very intense, very emotional about some things. But that's because we're at a critical time, and this is the age of deception. It's everywhere, and I know that, and I see it, and it troubles me that it's so difficult to be understood. But that is the test. Keep your eyes on the horizon, your ears to the ground. Prep, pray, stay out of the way. Keep your situational awareness on high. God bless you. God bless the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America and the Second American Revolution. And God bless Donald Trump and all of his righteous endeavors. And may the Spirit of the Lord descend upon him as the dews from heaven, giving him that discernment that he will know the difference between right and wrong and have the courage to do it. Out here until next time.